Hello, this is Jim Hazard, CommonAccord. Let's start with a page that only a lawyer could love. So here we are, the Series Seed Preferred Stock Purchase Agreement. That's a form done by Fenwick and West. Here it's been instantiated for a deal between Acme and the investors listed. We have some deal points here and there, and here and there, and there and there. So we have a long text which relates to our deal and has signature and all of that. Wouldn't it be better if we could break this down? So instead of doing it this way, what we can do is we can actually take the thing and break it down like this so that it shows us what it's about. So this is the same document, but now it shows us actually what's different about draft 3 than about draft 2. And it shows us what each of the things are. Here you see the council name. Here here is the price per share. Each of these things opens and closes so that we can see what they are about, like that. In fact, we can even see the list of what things are about here. This is our list of the representations made by the company, call them C-reps, here regarding each of the issues. We also see where that came from. That is, as we view this deal, we understand it is a Series Seed transaction, and it has deal points, and the deal points come from a term sheet. We'll go and we'll see the term sheet in a moment. But what's relevant here is that we could modify the term sheet by editing this and updating it, or we could just modify this document by saving to the quote top page. We'll look at what the top page looks like soon. In fact, if we break this thing down a little bit further, this is again the same document, but now we've just collapsed everything so that we can get back to where we were by opening things. So the capital, we had that shares, there you go. So again, this comes from the term sheet like that, and the rest of it, or many parts of the rest of it, come from the Series Seed form. Okay, so same thing. How did we make this? We made it by essentially stating what we wanted to have different vis-a-vis something that we already had. So this is draft 3. We did a draft 2. It had some changes in it. Draft 2, so draft 3 points at draft 2, which had some changes. Draft 2 points at draft 1. Draft 1 brought together that term sheet, and it brought together the Series Seed form. Here's the work that was done in draft 3. So draft 2 you can imagine, draft 1 you can imagine. Why don't we go to the term sheet? The term sheet, of course, is essentially something that sits on top of the closing binder and informs it. And so in a financing like this, it's mostly movie credits. So in the role of company is Acme, and the role of investor 1 is Supran, and so forth. Each of these things is persistent. We don't have to keep writing Acme each time, and when we indicate Acme, we're pointing at Acme. We're not doing something like, well, Acme is a company that has an address, yabba, 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 about which we might be wrong, and in any event, that's disconnected from Acme. This way, the use is connected to Acme, which makes all the difference. And then you have deal points. You can use this little notion of the periods as being something like file folders to organize your thoughts, but you don't have to. And notice that whenever you refer to something, you don't have to remember the guy's name or whatever. You can work conceptually. You just put curly braces around something, and it will search its name space to find it. So let's look at that. Company, contact, name, full. What's that? Well, that's the company, and we go to the company, and the company, of course, is also rather like movie credits. So here's the company's movie credits. First, we declare what the company is. It's a corporation, so that all the kinds of stuff, like if we say company.his/her, then it'll come back with its, or company full identity, it'll indicate that it's a corporation under the law of Delaware, blah, blah, blah. No magic in that. It's just a series of lists that render into what we need, and totally customizable. Company.contact.name.full gives us Marek. Merrick is a male, and so if we were to say company.contact.his/her, we'd get back his. And Merrick has some information like this. Okay, so that means that what we are doing, in fact, is knitting together persistent representations of persons into a web of relationships. And you can do that locally, have a portfolio of your documents, portfolio of your loans, portfolio of your client relationships, whatever. That can be done across transacting environments. You can do that in a collaborative way. In fact, that can be done universally, so that in fact all the world is collaborating to describe their relationships among one another. Okay. Any set of particular, any kind of kit of things that you need to modify a document or a series of documents, you can put together here. So we can change Santa Clara jurisdiction to San Francisco jurisdiction or whatever you want, by adding or removing a list, adding or overriding. Let's show you one more thing, which is, so what we did there was a closing binder. We'll now do stock options, which are a 1-1-1-1 kind of thing, rather than a group of documents that all relate to a single transaction. So there's a kit of materials for doing stock options. We've instantiated that for Acme, so Acme now references that. Acme has two plans. The founder has a deal that has been instantiated vis-a-vis that. But let's skip right to the co-founder, because the co-founder wants to know what their deal is vis-a-vis the founder. So the founder doesn't get the totally standard deal. The founder gets a little sweeter deal than the standard. Co-founder wants to know, what's my deal vis-a-vis the founder? So the way we do that is we point at the founder's deal. There's the Acme kit. There's the founder. And then the co-founder overrides the founder, so now our document is instantiated for the co-founder. And this is what's different. So we see some numbers that are different, and we see here we got a little bit of sort of random text changes just to show that you can make text changes. That renders out, of course, back into a full document. And in this instance, it'll be marked to show the difference between marked to show the difference between the co-founder's deal and the founder's deal. Okay, little bits of blue here with all the text, and still, of course, opening and closing, so we can see how the document is structured. And note that that comes from the original source. Of course, you can render the same thing back into the conventional document, so that taking out the markup, not taking it out, simply not applying the markup, so then we get back to something that we can PDF, and if we want to sign or whatever. Again, as much text as a lawyer could love. That is pretty much the core notion. It can be done in a distributed model, and the hope is that we will all get on the same page. Thank you very much. Jim Hazard, Common Accord.